So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Deborah Howard. Deborah has more than 20 years of experience in sales and marketing, with the last 15 years dedicated to the senior living industry. Working through the ranks from community level sales all the way to DVP of Sales and Marketing with Emeritus Senior Living and National VP of Sales with 5-Star, Deborah has gained a unique perspective and skill set. She has gone through many CRMs, including building a custom one that came with many scars. She has much insight into choosing the right CRM for your sales culture and then making it stick. So Debbie, welcome.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. And also with us today is Victoria Jarris, who is the Director of Sales with Harmony Senior Services. So, Victoria, I appreciate that you're going through the selection process of choosing a CRM and thought you would add so much value and insights. So, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your background and about Harmony.
Sure. Thanks, Debbie, and welcome everyone else. Thanks for having me as a guest panelist on this discussion. I'm actually coming from the perspective of newly engaged in the senior living industry from the assisted living and independent living memory care side. I really cut my teeth in senior living in the skilled arena, wearing many hats, very similar to Debbie's background, and had been doing that for about 15 years and then made the transition into this side of senior living. So I find myself with Harmony Senior Services relocating from the Northeast down here to beautiful and sunny and hot Charleston, South Carolina, leading our home office in supporting our sales and marketing efforts. Harmony Senior Services is a company that's really growing. We've got 12 open and operating communities, 7 more on the way through May of 2017. So you can imagine how crazy busy it is. And operating Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, soon to be West Virginia and Tennessee. So we're quite busy. And just as a personal note, I always like to share my philosophy, as it's so very well aligned with Debbie's and Andrea's, making sure that we align the what and the why of what we do every single day with sales and marketing. So very important and really basic to everything that I do every single day, just aligning that what and why. So thank you, Debbie.
Thanks, Victoria. Well, as most of you know, choosing the right CRM can be a daunting experience with significant consequences. And the choices often seem like a Goldilocks experience, with some solutions being, well, just a little bit too small, and others being way too complicated. And usually, after much trial and error, there is one that's just right. Today, we're going to provide strategies to make the selection process more like a Cinderella experience to help you find the perfect fit. This webinar will cover components in making the best decision for your community or company, including how to evaluate CRM options and innovation in CRM features, functions, and integration. Senior housing CRMs used to be a lot like this: the all-in-one printer, faxer, scanner, copier. Although these look like an efficient integrated machine with 4 valuable functions, usually only one of the 4 functions actually worked, and it was never the CRM. Or developers from another industry, such as skilled nursing or multifamily housing, thought it would be easy to retrofit their software solution for senior housing, and it ended up looking like this. They would either start with a strong back-end financial system that made CFOs and COOs starry-eyed, or they had a comprehensive clinical platform that was compelling. In both cases, the CRM was stuck on to complete the integration. Not a pretty sight for sales and marketing professionals. In today's competitive landscape, even more pressure to grow occupancy, sales teams need CRMs that are designed just for them, not added as an afterthought. Finding the right option for your sales team requires collaboration, a structured vetting process, and finding alignment with your sales process and culture. So Victoria is going to offer her insights throughout this presentation, as she's actively pursuing a CRM selection for her sales team. So we'll be welcoming those comments as we go through. The first step in choosing the right CRM is to create a collaborative work group with representatives from various levels within the organization and with representation from sales, marketing, and operational roles. Making the team part of the decision will provide valuable feedback in the selection process and increase the adoption. Because guess what? Most salespeople hate entering data into a CRM. Why? Because they do not view a CRM as a helpful tool. They see it as an evil plot to spy on them, measuring everything they do in order to hold them accountable. So, building a collaborative team helps everyone to be part of the process, so users at every level will get a win out of the new software. Because where you sit is where you stand. And for users sitting in a community chair, they will be interested in intuitive interface and simple navigation. And users sitting in regional and corporate chairs will be most interested in reports and data. Victoria, you formed a growth group to participate in your CRM selection. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. And I think it's an important step to identify a group, we called it the Growth Committee, that really participated in forward thinking on theory versus reality for CRM selection. You know, what we thought we needed, what we really would like to see, and what in actuality was going to work well at every level, as you were just talking about, from the community all the way up to senior leadership. So we selected individuals to represent every single level of the community, you know, right from the folks sitting behind the seats of the sales and marketing desks all the way up to regional folks, and even our COO who participated on the growth committee in the selection. Very, very important to get that cross section of individuals identifying what's important to them, why it's important to them, what reports we're pulling, what data we're pulling, and why and where we're going to use it moving forward. So a little bit about the background of that, the formation of that group.
That's awesome, and really impressive that the COO would take the time and be part of that, but also really important to get buy-in and have everyone know how important a decision this is to get your COO to be part of that team.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, what he really most appreciated was not only the ability to understand from a user perspective all the way down, again, to that chair in the sales and marketing department desk, you know, understanding that perspective, understanding what would be the reason why it would be so important to have a feature, for example, as automated reminder alerts, you know, something that he's not consuming his day with, but could really understand from the perspective of another user why that would make or break you know, a CRM. So very, very valuable.
Oh, that's awesome. Very good. So here's a couple ways to get the conversation started with your growth group or your collaborative team. You can start by having the group provide feedback about their hopes and fears about changing or adopting a new CRM system. This will provide insights into potential resistance and also areas of high value and enthusiasm. I have had users tell me that while they hope the new CRM will save them time and reduce redundancy, they're also fearful that it will be too complicated and that they could potentially lose their jobs if they're not able to learn the new system. So, Victoria, any insights from your team about maybe what some of their hopes and fears are in making this change?
Well, I think absolutely redundancy is one of the biggest areas of focus. You know, number one, is this going to be the same data that I'm entering in 3 or 4 different places? I think, secondly, you know, with that redundancy, what all are you going to do with this information, and what can I do with it from the user standpoint? You know, am I just inputting data for, in quotes, you all to look at, or is it going to be valuable for me? And is it going to translate, you know, somewhere for me for a strategy plan, for a marketing plan, that I'm actually going to be having valuable, you know, data and action associated with it? So I think that's the 2 key areas that really came out.
Yeah. Okay. And that's great because that helps you kind of find those touch points that will translate into motivation and adoption. Another way to jumpstart the team is to have them come up with what I call a good, bad, and downright ugly list of what they're currently using. This will help to prioritize the features and functions to look for in the new solution. Sometimes the good is simply that it's familiar or that the internet leads are auto-populated. The bad might be that users cannot easily move from one prospect record to another, and they spend too much time opening and closing records because only one can be opened at a time. The downright ugly may be that users have to enter the same information over and over again in different areas of the system, or that certain functions just don't work. So, Victoria, can you tell us a little bit about what you uncovered from your good, bad, and ugly feedback from your growth group?
Sure. One of the best bits of feedback was the auto integration across platforms. That users were finding there were some CRMs where we were able to, generate and translate that information across many tabs, if you will. And so that it became that one-stop shopping, essentially, for I enter it here and it applies it across these other entities that I'm using in my business. One of the other great pieces was finding CRMs that had a multi-visual display of data. And what I mean by that is not just an Excel spreadsheet or an exportable Excel spreadsheet, but also pie charts and graphs for those folks who needed to just see the information a little bit differently. Same information, but when we were able to pull it in different styles of reports, that felt better to the teams using it. That, I work better on an Excel spreadsheet, but somebody else works better on a pie chart and can see this is where I need to be focusing my business, or this is what I've been doing with these particular lead sources for this amount of time. So I think that was really neat to pull away.
Yeah.
Some of the negative feedback is those same reporting tools were hard to navigate or get to, essentially, to be able to extract some data. So we really paused a lot with some CRMs where we found ourselves, spending 45 minutes literally trying to uncover the data that we wanted to uncover because we knew it was there. And that was probably one of the most pause points for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, tell me about pause points.
So we identified through our growth committee pause points and wish lists. So pause points weren't necessarily deal breakers, but areas that we all agreed upon were going to give us a little bit of a stopping point. Just we're going to pause here and see, can we work through this? Should we work through this? Is this realistic to take the other, pros of whatever the CRM it was that we were demo at that time? Say, okay, is this worth the pause point, or are we going to just be circling, at this pause point and have it become essentially that parking lot issue where we just can never move past it and it's not worth it? So
that's a great strategy. I like that. So once you have this great feedback and pause points and wish lists, and you understand the hopes and fears and the good, bad, and the ugly, you can start prioritizing the function and features that will add the greatest value and make the lives and jobs of the team better. Some can be prioritized as must-haves or non-negotiables, others as under a column of, well, this would be really nice, and finally, the in a perfect world list. The list will be different for community, regional, and corporate users, which is okay because the right fit CRM will have to work for everyone. It's really okay to dream big at this stage. So, Victoria, any insights about how you prioritized or your dreaming big experience?
Absolutely. What we focused on was what our sales culture was and where we were going with it. Who we wanted to be when we grew up. If you follow, who it is we were going to be, and really adopting all of what we were bringing to the table, new to our team as far as the sales culture, into an actual platform electronically. For us, it has been about relationships and telling a story. So our CRM needs to model that from a COO's perspective. What is he looking in as far as relationships with the people that are working for us, relationships with the people that are living with us, what's he looking for and what story is he looking for? And conversely, what story are our folks telling, our employees? What are our sales and marketing professionals telling the rest of the organization? And what can they capture from a relationship perspective within the notes, features, et cetera, of a CRM?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you segued perfectly into the next point, which is that even more important than the technology and all the bells and whistles is the need to select a CRM that's in alignment with your sales process and culture. So the CRM that's right for you is going to be the one that best reflects your sales language and training, and also reinforce the behaviors expected from your team. So how has that kind of played out in your selection process? Did you have to really back up, Victoria, to think about not, maybe acknowledging what the culture was, but really looking forward and saying, this is where we want to go, and which CRM is either already in alignment or is flexible enough to align with that new culture that you're creating?
Well, yeah, we did. We had to pull back a little bit, and the age-old question, quality versus quantity, and looking at a CRM that could support quality and what we were putting into our relationships and how, continuously defining the touch points along the way with our leads. What did that look and feel like, rather than the ability to spit out these wonderful, beautiful reports on the quantity, but not tell me any story and not tell me any meat, and really make me do the digging, or my sales professionals do the digging to be able to say, well, wait, what were we doing here? What was the quality behind it? Because 50 sales calls can happen, but what's involved in those 50 sales calls is what's going to make or break the difference and be sustainable, in my opinion. And as I'm trying to embark on this for our company's sales culture, quality versus quantity.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks. So once you've done all of that work that Victoria and her growth team have done, and you have your wish list, it's time to schedule demos. Woo-hoo! So this is the fun part. And just my advice would be, and Victoria will speak to this in a minute, is to make sure to include representatives from your work group in your demos. The first step is to schedule demos with vendors that have the features, function, and cultural alignment identified by your collaborative team. Then as you narrow down your choices, it's really helpful to get access to a test or training site, or sometimes they have a development sandbox where you can test the system hands-on. And I would just caution that, and Victoria, you can speak to this as well, a lot of people start their search for a new CRM at this point. They just go right to scheduling demos without doing any of the back work of the collaboration and setting expectations and cultural alignment. And usually what happens is they just set all these demos, start digging in, and very quickly get overwhelmed because they don't have anything to refer back to that's really their roadmap for making this important selection. So any insights here, Victoria?
I think you said it well. That's exactly it. It's really to, plan your strategy in advance before you even look at anything. So before you go online, and we all do, we want to get right in there and see what the solution is, and Google away whatever we can find to satisfy our needs. But before, hesitate, close the laptop, turn off the computer, get in front of folks, and really figure out, again, theory versus practice. What is it that we really, really need? What's going to be important to all the different users representing each facet and level of the company, and moving with a strategy, then figuring out, which CRM might fit those particular needs. I'd also suggest this is a good opportunity to introduce into the committee some folks that have, let's say, less than stellar tech savvy skills.
Yeah.
Important piece of learning here, because not all of us grew up understanding, what we need to do as far as data entry. Some of the folks that we see working for us that bring such great insight and really wonderful service literally are still scared of the computer. And so it's good to get a cross section of folks that are, those super users, those folks who, didn't even have school without a laptop, and then those folks who are, really unfamiliar or scared of actually looking at the computer. So we can make sure those folks are represented as far as the ease of use and the adaptability by all levels of tech savviness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, it has to work really for your least comfortable technology user. And so often the sales folks that are best at building relationships and love being face to face, and they have those skills, are not always as well balanced on the technical side. And so we have to really think about setting everybody up for success. So that's really a great point. There have been many improvements in CRM solutions in the last several years, especially improving user interface, the integration of marketing functions, automating workflows and follow-up, improved reporting, and centralized related sales activities into the CRM platform. So, Victoria, you've been busy demoing and getting into, hands-on, maybe some test sites and seeing what's out there. What are some of the new features and functions that have most impressed you?
Sure. One of the biggest improvements is projecting our sales targets and then making those navigate into a marketing plan automatically. That's been super impressive. A couple of CRMs have been able to do that literally for you. So mapping out a strategy, that's really, really neat. Some of the CRMs have the access from, mobile or remote locations, but I put an asterisk here. Actually accessible. In my past researching CRMs from the skills side, we had mobile accessibility, but it was such a bear to navigate. You had to have a big enough phone to actually read anything. So if you were remote, you just wanted to throw in the towel anyway and drive all the way back to the office because it wasn't user friendly. You had it, but it wasn't user friendly. So the updates, obviously, for mobile usability. And a really super cool one is, understanding your traffic on your website live, and some of the CRMs that can support that. Really, really super cool.
Yeah, they have certainly come a long way. So old school sales interactions were informational and intellectual, with sales teams trained to gather clinical, financial, and decision-making information. But today's sales processes are much more relational and personalized. So having a prospect profile that reinforces this approach is really important. It's like what Victoria said about, telling the story. So let's take a look at an improved prospect record. First of all, having a photo of prospects and even their family or their home has a positive impact on closing ratios. It keeps salespeople more connected to the prospects. Other improvements include integrated links to Zillow to easily access home values, and also social channels like Facebook and LinkedIn for background information on other decision makers, usually the adult children. Also, there is voice-to-text technology, and it's evolved to make it easier to update prospect and referral records verbally. You simply speak your notes in, and it integrates into the record. Some CRM providers are also improving communications with prospects using text and with other team members using internal chat. So here you will see the integration of quick links, including calendar information integration, accessing files easily to find floor plans, deposit forms, and move-in checklists, and even just an easy click to send an email. And on the right is an internal chat feature that connects with other team members within the community. For example, sales teams can send a quick text to the nurse and coordinate the scheduling of an assessment right from the prospect record. Salespeople are always on the go, and they need to take their technology with them. So cloud-based and mobile-enabled systems make it possible to stay connected when associates are out of the office. Also, daily reminders. Sales teams are managing multiple priorities, so having a quick view of the daily schedule keeps everyone on track. There are dashboards that show what activities are due today and tomorrow. Users can effortlessly see what new leads have come in, who is on their watch list, and also receive email alerts. The dashboards available today are dynamic, allowing users to drill down from a global perspective to a very granular level. And this is what Victoria was talking about. So for those folks that really relate more to, pie charts and graphs and visual representations, they can get the reports in that method. But then as you click through the reports, it actually brings you down into the Excel spreadsheet level. So those have made a really good improvement lately. Some developers are creating app centers with multiple plugins for email marketing, marketing automation, phone systems, text messaging. We're finding really good engagement with text messaging, and also digital analytics. So look for systems that allow your team to segment their lead base into personalized interactions, that being email communication, invitations to events, and creative follow-up. Some developers offer email templates that can be customized for various campaigns, and others tie into design and print services similar to Vistaprint with turnkey flyers and postcards. Also, we can say goodbye to canned reports. In the past, CRMs came loaded with canned reports, and it was expensive and time-consuming to create custom reports that actually gather the right data. So, no more gobbledygook or mumbo-jumbo. You can also now access data quickly and easily to find the trends that drive strategy and decisions. You can slice and dice the data by community, region, and corporate, and also by salesperson and service line. Some developers have even created a projection report that's built in. I always found that really handy because nobody likes doing projection reports manually. Instead of creating email blasts that are sent out to everyone in your database, new CRMs allow you to segment your prospects and referral sources so you can control the content you push out to each segment. For example, there's a search capability that allows users to search by keyword to create a list of prospects with a specific interest and provide content that is high value for them. Users can search for gardeners or bridge players or dog lovers in order to personalize interactions such as newsletters, creative follow-up, or sending invitations to events. With sales teams juggling so many priorities, it's easy to forget that how follow-up tasks can fall through the cracks. Newer CRMs create the ability to automate workflows and alerts. For example, the CRM will schedule a reminder if a lead has gone without a follow-up for a certain period of time. Or the CRM will automatically send out a thank you email as soon as the tour activity is closed in the system, or send out a survey, or create lead nurturing campaigns. And it's even possible to have a CRM auto-schedule follow-up within 24 hours of every tour. Many of the newer CRMs are built around a sales training process, and they offer integrated training materials, including videos, to help users refresh their skills. Others have built in the sales tools right into the CRM to reinforce the sales culture and training. Newer technology connects the website to integrate leads generated from web forms, live chat, and landing pages, and populates them directly into the CRM. They can also track the behavior of your leads and let you know when they are on your website. For example, integrating with HubSpot lets us know when a lead is on our website in real time. Before we open up to questions, here are some next steps to help you find the CRM that's right for your community or company. We have vetted, demoed, and used many CRMs over the years, and as a follow-up to this webinar, we are offering scheduled demos of 3 of our favorite platforms. Tomorrow, you will receive an email with a link for the recorded webinar, and also to a landing page where you can sign up to demo any or all of the 3 CRMs we have selected. Just choose the dates and times that work best for you so you can compare each technology to find the one that's the best fit. So now we will open it up to questions.
Great. We have a question. can you give us some information about pricing?
Sure. So obviously people have different pricing models, and Victoria, if you can chip in here from what you found out from your search, some companies do a price per user. And then other people do kind of a flat monthly fee. Those have been the two pricing models that we've seen. So part of it depends on how many people within each community are going to need access to it. And then you'll also have some pricing options for the data migration. And for the training. So depending on if the training is, in person or if it's just kind of remote and webinars, that will dictate, the additional pricing. But with data migration, this is a great opportunity to, I think that's a kind of another decision-making point, is who is going to help you dedupe all of these leads in your system. Who's going to eliminate the duplicates, who's going to merge accounts, because if you bring over, dirty data, nobody's going to be happy. So it definitely is a good time to clean up your data and make sure that when it shows up in the new CRM, that you've eliminated a lot of the clutter and distraction. Victoria, anything else that you can speak to around pricing and pricing models?
Yes, I think one of the other components is making sure there's, if you're doing a flat rate, there's a place for customization, and that it really is spelled out what that means, what that entails, who's going to be the point person. Do you need to have a point person assigned on your team to connect directly to say, okay, what does this, personalization, what does this customization look like and feel like for us, and exactly what to expect with that rollout. I think that's key as well. And if I may, I think, this is the time to start thinking about not just who you are right now today, but who you're going to be, in 3 years, in 5 years, and what do we need to do now when we're looking at price point that will position ourselves for the future so we can continue and not be in the same seat again, looking for another CRM that can handle the business that we have become in 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Victoria, that, the customization is really important. We used to just get something in a box and we open it up and we had to use it, and that became our sales process because that was what was given to us. But I think that this is the opportunity to say, how much time and money and resources, and is it going to be on our end or your end, to either create custom integration or custom functions or custom reporting, or even just change the language. Because I know some folks are changing over from leads identified as hot, warm, and cold to leads that are identified, through something else such as stages of readiness. And so it's important that that customization be reflected in the CRM that you choose. It's going to reinforce your culture on some level.
Great. Next question. Our marketing staff has been using ACT for years. Do you know which CRM is best transferring data from ACT?
So as far as I know, the 3 companies that we work with have all migrated data over from ACT. So good news, lots of improvements since ACT. So this will be a huge improvement from, and I worked with ACT too. I think that was my very first CRM that I used. And so certainly for people who have been on a system like that, what you're going to be able to get today will be just a huge improvement. But I don't think that migrating the data and mapping it over is going to be a problem with any of the folks that we work with.
And having gone through changes in CRMs in my professional career, it's a good time to stop and clean out your database. The new systems allow for a lot less junk in your database. So it's important just to kind of, take a look, clean it out, refresh it before you transfer it over.
And I think to Victoria's point, it's important to get clarity on who's going to be responsible for that. In some cases, when I was changing over to a CRM, it was our responsibility as the company to do all of that kind of manual deduping and all of that. But then other ones, they have, the ability to just export all of our data and then recognize the duplicates, merge maybe the note fields. So I would much rather have my CRM partner take that on than to expect my community teams to do that manually.
Great. Another question, do all CRMs calculate conversion ratios?
Yeah, they do. I think that, some of them do it a little bit different. And Victoria, you can tell me what you've seen. Traditionally, all of the, inquiry to tour and inquiry to move in, and deposits and all of those types of things are measured. I think one thing that I really like in a system that was very important to my sales team when I was looking was that they like the auto population of leads. Obviously, anytime you can eliminate any manual steps, the better, the happier your sales team is going to be. But they didn't always want those third-party leads to be automatically qualified as, an inquiry. So they wanted to either have a staging area or have an ability for them to convert them to a qualified lead, because they were really sensitive about their conversions being measured not just on raw leads that were received, but by qualified leads. And so that was something we paid attention to with the CRM that we built for 5-star, was that all of those leads were kind of filtered in, but it was up to the salesperson through discovery, and we had a certain set of criteria to say you have enough information, but it was up to the sales team to push the convert button, which said, this is now a qualified lead, and now I'm going to be measured on qualified lead to tour, deposit, and move in. And that really helped us, I think, have a sense that the sales team was getting a win from that.
Great. Another question. We've used reps for years. Same question as the last as far as migration goes.
Yep, same thing. All of them, all of these companies have migrated from reps, so not a problem. They map over the fields, and I don't think that would be an issue with anybody, certainly that we work with. And I worked with reps too, and Yardi and Move In, and big improvements out there.
Yeah. We got 2 more questions. This might be for you, Victoria. What would you identify as your non-negotiable?
Sure. Well, I've got a couple of non-negotiables. Certainly the most obvious one, it's got to be simple and easy to use. I can't say that loud enough. It's got to be simple and easy to use. It can't be something where our folks at any user level are logging on and saying, I don't even know where to start. None of this makes sense. So it's got to be simple and easy. Absolutely has to integrate with our other systems. To me, that's a no-brainer, not just for where we're sitting today, but where the future of our business is going in 3 and 5 years. We've got to be able to have all of the systems talking to each other. Automated alerts, always such a friendly, friendly reminder for folks of things that are outstanding, tasks that need to be done. If I can have that automated, that is really, really terrific. And then these team projection tools in some of the CRMs that, again, take that analytics part and make it into a strategy, make it into those projection reports, very, very key for me, very, very much non-negotiable. Nice to have would be IT support that is accessible. And I know it sounds kind of funny to say that out loud, but something that I've noticed is you can have a great CRM, but if you can't get a hold of that IT tech support to fix the problem, on the user end, you're sunk.
Yeah.
You're sunk. And so you've got to have that accessibility, simple thing, but it is amazing to try and work through a problem that you really have no idea how to fix on a system that's relatively new to you or your users.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great one, because I think you have to, as you're evaluating systems, know how much support you're going to get from the vendor. Do they have ongoing help desk hours, open hours, webinars, trainings, or how much are you going to have to provide in-house? And, some people have the infrastructure to be able to do, more in-house support, and others don't, but that should be definitely a part of the decision-making criteria.
Great. And one last question, and this could probably be a webinar on its own, but
Right.
any advice about rolling it out and making it stick?
Well, I'll jump in, and then Victoria, you can finish us off. I think one of the things that I've seen is you have to budget in the rollout. So often, we'll get the okay to budget for the software, and maybe the data migration, and that's about it. But honestly, to make it stick, to help people feel comfortable and confident and successful, what I found is you need probably 2 days of training. The first day is a connection, kind of what Victoria is talking about, the whys of what you're doing behind the selection. You have to kind of reinforce your sales culture so that when you come to the place of actually having people practice entering the leads and using the technology, they're understanding the connection between the sales culture and process and the technology. If you miss that step, it just seems like another piece of software they have to use, and it's not for them, and it doesn't have value. And then day 2 is really renting out, and I would definitely recommend, if you can get it in the budget, to do an outsourced kind of computer lab environment where you can take people off-site so they're not distracted, and just have real scenarios for them to walk through every part of the system, so that by the time they leave that day, they've entered leads, they've entered referrals, they've gone through the sales process of converting them to a move-in, selecting an apartment, all of those critical steps. And then the support after the initial rollout is really key to make sure. They're going to have questions. They're going to get back and forget, I can't remember how to do this. So making sure that there are quick links or videos or help desk, and that your regional team is critical. If you are lucky enough to have a regional team, that they are hands-on coaches, and that after that rollout, one of their major priorities in each site visit is to sit down hands-on with each user and answer questions kind of experientially. But if you do a lot of the upfront stuff we talked about, the collaboration, getting people's input, keeping them filled in throughout the process, I think it will also help it make it stick and help the adoption. Victoria?
I think the other piece, too, to spend a little bit of time truly on a breakout session before you even roll out on a compare and contrast. Here's what we're doing right now, and here's why it doesn't work, or here's why it's not telling us the full story, or here's why, it is giving you more agita than you realize, and here's where we're going and what it's going to do. And spending, like I said, a good half an hour or so really on a breakout session of compare and contrast. I think that that's key. And I think the other thing, all told, is certainly once you decide to go live, you've got to commit to it. Working with another company in my past life, we identified a CRM, we identified a rollout, we had everything planned, we actually embarked on the rollout, and probably about a week later, everybody stopped the brakes and said, wait, well, we're not really ready, so we're going to kind of go back to what we were doing before, which was paper, incidentally. Mm-hmm. We're just going to do that for a little while, and all it did was confuse folks. So even if you get nervous, even if you're saying, oh, I'm not sure we're going to have everybody adopting this, and I don't know, you just got to go for it. You've got to just go forward, continue on the journey. It does not so good things to the team to kind of pause and put the brakes on and then say, no, we'll get back to that in a month, or we'll revisit that next year because we realize, it's not being adopted. All that means is we just got to go back and coach and guide and coach and guide and coach and guide until everybody's on the same page, rather than halt and stop things in progress.
That's great.
Terrific. Well, that does it for our questions. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Debbie and Victoria. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to Debbie directly at dhoward@seniorlivingsmart.com. Once you leave today's webinar, you get to receive a survey on the presentation, and we would really appreciate if you would complete that and provide your feedback. You're also going to receive a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to view a recording of today's seminar and instructions on how to schedule demos with our vetted providers. On behalf of Senior Living Smart and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.